My name is Sabine. Today's presentation is about the future of education. This is my presentation for Assessment 2. In this presentation, I will discuss how the future of education can look like in 5 years, in 20 years, or in 100 years. I will also shed some light on how our educational leaders can best be prepared for this uncertain future. And I will compare and contrast the future from a global perspective and a contextualized perspective. Looking back, the first signs of schooling are in the Asian civilizations. Conventional schooling as we know it today is since the 19th or 20th century. Schooling then was for students to sit, to listen, and to answer questions when they were asked to. Schooling today looks very different. Schooling today is more inquiry-based, problem-solving, more independent and student-centered learning. Education is competitive in a global perspective. Politics and economics are permanently placing pressure onto schools and school leavers, instilling fear that jobs will be lost through technologies, and others will only be available to those who have gained more knowledge through schooling. To master the future, I agree with both that we need to keep focusing on interpersonal skills, which will enable people to incorporate technology to its best use. In the big picture, change in education is driven by economics and politics. The work-labour reports show that there is a shift in employment. As some routine jobs disappear due to technology carrying out these jobs, there is an increase in employment for the lower and higher job categories, which reflect on how we are affected by technology. Steenbroeker, CEO of the Organization for Economics, Cooperation and Development, OECD, states that beside media claims that 50% of jobs will be gone within the next 20 years due to technology, the reality is that there will be about 14% of jobs taken over by technology, while at the same time, technology will create new jobs, and society itself is in charge of where they want technology to take over. For the complete presentation, please copy and paste the provided link or search on YouTube, The Future of Work, What Do We Do? Looking at the future in 5 years, there will be an increase of STEM with a focus of technology, an increase of online learning. Therefore, education will increase its focus on technology to enable all students to successfully participate. There will be a strong focus on teaching technology skills that exceed the basic use of technology and include research and analysis of found information. Looking at education in 20 years, the focus will be on inquiry-based collaborative education driven by and through technology and online learning. There is a strong focus on online learning. Education is more intrinsically driven and students are able to select focus areas earlier. The population needs to have built a good understanding of technology, its use and how to locate and analyze information. Looking at education in 100 years, technology will have replaced schools. All education will be online. Areas where practical placements are needed will still have schools, but as simulated workplaces. The Cambridge University Press and Assessment has published under their rubric of News and Insights articles about the future of schools. What will education look like in 20 years from now? In 20 years' time, there will be many different models of education. Many of these models will be determined by the environmental, social, economic, and physical availability of equipment. Research shows today that the tendency goes towards student-centered learning in topic and execution. It is very interesting to follow those ideas from Cambridge University Press and Assessment. Looking at those visual collections of ideas, how education can look like in 20 years. Looking at those visual collections of ideas, how education can look like in 20 years. Will the paper-based exams really be demised by then? Will EDI, explicit direct instruction, will be the main focus in classrooms? Will there be more discussion time for students and topics? Looking into the future of education, how can our principals and educational leaders be best prepared for the future? Certain attributes will be highly beneficial. For example, principals and educational leaders need to be open-minded. They need to be adaptive to change. They need to realize opportunities and demands from the outside. Educational leaders will need to be strong, lifelong learners themselves to keep up with the pace of how education is changing. Overarching collaboration with other leaders and institutions will be necessary to ensure consistent adaptations of change. Global connections will be beneficial for everyone and ensure students will be prepared for the global work market or for higher education on a global level. The last aspect of this presentation is education in a global and a contextualized perspective. Education in a global perspective will have many different phases due to location and availability of necessary equipment. For example, education in remote Australia will look very different to education in Singapore. Nevertheless, education in remote Australia will also look very different to education in remote India or in other developing countries. It is not just the equipment that needs to be available, but also the technologies to run them. For example, consistent power and internet access. Therefore, the countries, cities, and global areas that are thriving already will improve and grow even faster, while struggling global areas will need to ensure basic accessibility first before improvement of technology-driven education can take place. In my contextualized perspective, educational changes will be as well much slower. I work in a high school education support center. My students are 15 years old and in year 10. They all seem to be confident end users of technology, though many struggle to explore outside of routine tasks. Simple activities such as logging on to school network are challenging and time-consuming tasks. And as Brooke in the OECD report pointed out, there are many other people who know what a computer is. They can make use of it for daily activities or actions, such as online banking and online shopping. However, there is no further knowledge and skill on how to engage more deeply with the technology and the world. The educational changes that will come in the future will bring many challenges especially to those who struggle in the first place. It will be very interesting to see how and what technology can be made available to those with the biggest deficits. I'm looking forward to the changes ahead, knowing very well that they will bring many challenges that we need to overcome. I am hoping that the power of globalization will help assist those in need further and will thrive to new dimensions. One of those challenges will be to see how we can bring technology into every classroom, how it can be made available. Students are very used to technology at home. Thank you for watching my presentation for Assessment 2. Goodbye.